What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We're here with our brother Kalu Osiri. Now, this brother has a Osiri University, but I'm also let him explain his past, to everyone, just so you maybe say, well, who is this man that's on the screen? So, Kalu, thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you so much, brother Phil. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm humbled.
All right, brother. So, tell people just a little bit about yourself, like what you have going on, because it's definitely interesting.
Well, I was born in Cotonou, Benin, in West Africa. My parents are from Nigeria. I did my secondary education and part of my tertiary education in Africa prior to coming to the US over 20 years ago. When I got to the US, I went to Grambling State University, studied chemistry, went to Louisiana State University, got my PhD in chemistry. I did a postdoctoral study at the University of Florida in international business and entrepreneurship, then went to Harvard to study management development, also at the postdoctorate level. Now, throughout my journey, I've traveled, been privileged to travel around the world, privileged to live in different parts of America. And I noticed that it didn't matter where I was, the plight of African people was similar, was the same. Africans are pushed to the margins and to the ghettos and slums in America. If you go to the continent, you notice there's a lot of issues with African people. Our educational system is not working. And those of us who managed to gain some education would leave in search for even a more quality education. Our political system is broken. Medicine is not functional. In fact, there's a lot of things not working. And so I looked around and I asked myself, why are things not working? And when I examined it, I realized that we don't have an educational system that powers the African continent from the bottom, from the grassroots up. We train people just to go and become robots, essentially. We train people to memorize. We train people to do things that will not really elevate their community. We're not training people to make contributions to their community. That was why we launched Osiri University to offer relevant education. So when you come to Osiri University, you are learning practical skill sets that you could use to transform your life, but you are also learning about your history, learning about yourself, so that you can combine the skill knowledge with a love of self and a love of community to mobilize with others and elevate your community. So that is what we are doing at Osiri University.
All right, so you looked at the education. The education is really the way that this system keeps you bound, right? And one thing that we definitely know that Malcolm X taught us, that you cannot allow, these people to educate us. I mean, if they don't want to treat us right, well, why do you think they're going to educate us right? But unfortunately, we're being educated by, this system that's never proved good for us. And that same system, even if it's under the British system, which is worse, is in the continent today. So why is it that people on the African continent can't say, okay, look, we don't want to be educated in this so-called Western environment. We need to create our own schools, like a person like yourself, right? We need to create our own schools, educate our own. Why isn't that more replicated like what you're doing even on the continent?
There are two reasons. The first reason is because our leaders, those who are running the show on the continent of Africa, are operating off of a virus. They're operating off of what I call a colonial mentality. They are essentially, permit me to say this, sometimes even without their knowledge, stooges to former colonial countries, so that their interest doesn't really lie with the people. It doesn't lie with elevating the grassroots, but lies with personal aggrandizement and supporting their former colonial countries. That is one main issue Now, obviously, there are good examples in Africa now. There are good leaders that are springing up and changing things and challenging the narrative and saying it's high time Africa start looking out for Africa and questioning existing institutions and infrastructure. So that's one main reason. Our leaders are one major problem. But again, I have to say this, I don't want to make a broad statement. There are very good ones that are setting good examples. I think Paul Kagame will be a good example, in my humble opinion, of somebody who's making some efforts to transform Rwanda using indigenous African principles. The second reason is, even though our leaders are not doing what they're supposed to do, the people are not holding them accountable. And the reason is because the people are as well are operating on this colonial mentality, right? So the people have almost accepted defeat and accepted that this is how life should be. And that is why we think it's important for us to bring quality education to people so we can begin to transform ourselves and our minds so that we can begin to do for ourselves and then begin to hold our leaders accountable. I think those are the two main reasons. One hand, we can blame our leaders, but we also have to blame ourselves for not holding our leaders accountable and for not also doing enough for ourselves. But it requires a mind shift, which is what we are doing at Osiri University.
Well, you said something that, you know, really resonates when you said a lot of them have just kind of accepted this the way it is. And I can tell you from personal experience, when you're not around people that's going to motivate you to do better or think better or challenge you, you know, you can't get into that. Because one thing that bothered me when I was on the African continent, I come from the old school in Black America, and men have to be men. And in the African continent, I've heard this from many people, but I've seen it myself. Men have no problem asking you for money or asking, can you please give me this? Can you please do it? I've never seen it like that before. And I know that comes from, like you said, a defeated mentality. And I'm like, no, you a man. You're supposed to square your shoulders up and figure it out. Right? So tell me this. I know people aren't raised to just say that's just beg people for anything. I know that. But is the leaders, you know, in some of these places, is it they have it that downtrodden where people feel like I can't do nothing for myself, or the saving grace is going to the UK or going to America?
Yes, you know, we should not discount the power of our circle and our environment. And I think your analysis is correct. When your environment supports a situation, a mindset where you are always subservient and you are begging, I think you tend to recruit and attract people who behave as such. And let me also say this, the leaders do not want to make the investment to prop up education because they know what will happen. If people begin to question, begin to develop a mindset one that allows them to think for themselves, they would then begin to challenge their leadership, their bad leadership. So again, we have this yin-yang situation where the leaders prop up this weak educational system that doesn't work, and then the people themselves are in this circle where they don't realize that they've essentially been put in there. So they need to find their way out. And what we are doing at Osiri University is to say, look, come and learn. And one of our taglines is, remember who you are. Now, in as much as we say Africans have now become subservient and become less critical in their thinking, we are also saying that wasn't the case before. Africans were always active and shapers of their future, of their situation. So we say, remember who you are and change your future. We are bringing stories from our ancestors, stories from those who came before us, to share with our people. Say, look, this is who we were. This is what we did. And hopefully we can get into some of those stories so that we can now begin to challenge our current situation and charge forward.
And like I said, education definitely is the key. And also, you know, some of the brothers and sisters, you know, coming from America and going to the continent, and just, you know, from my experience, it's been nothing but love. It's been nothing but reception. They want to, you know, they ask a lot of questions. And I feel that we can play a great role on the African continent because, you know, we're not involved in that inner, you know, ethnic, you know, beefs that can happen from thousands of years ago. That's the beautiful thing I believe about us, that we don't see it like that. We just say, hey, coming from America, you can't be saying I'm Igbo, I'm Fulani, you can't say that. You have to say you're black in this system, and you better get it together real quick. But let me go to, now I'm speaking about Nigeria, and you know that's part of, you know, from your family. We mentioned it earlier prior to filming about people that do come over here, because Nigeria has some very, very smart people there. I'm telling you, man, like I said, I looked into Nigeria. Nigeria have a lot of, you know, geniuses right there, literally. And I don't know why Nigeria isn't a powerhouse of Africa. It doesn't make sense. Well, I kind of know, but it still doesn't make sense. But some people that leave Nigeria and come over here, right? And some, not all. We had a discussion, you know, on the channel with this Austin Chinge guy that he wants to run for Michigan governor. And he said he wanted to end Black History Month. And, you know, it made me upset, of course. But I said in the video, it always kind of seemed that you have more Nigerian immigrants, some, not all, some that would be against Black Americans, and that needs to stop. But, you know, talk to me about that. Like what causes some of that, and how can we heal that even small? I look at it as a small divide.
You know, a lot of people from Africa, from Nigeria in particular, did not learn African history, let alone African American history, before coming here. So we are deprived, based on our school system, of our true history. So we all tend to operate based on a general or a Western man's mindset. So that it's not surprising that someone from Nigeria, like you mentioned, Chenge, would say that, hey, let's end Black History Month, because he doesn't really fully appreciate why we have Black History Month in the first place. I mean, he says it should be replaced with American History Month. Let's replace Black History Month with American History Month. Well, it's just a simple Google search will reveal that, well, we are inundated with American history every day of our lives. The curriculum is full of American history. That's what we teach. So when we talk about Black History Month, we are simply saying, let's include something that is missing into the piece. We're not saying let's eliminate American history or the rest of the history. We're just including what is being left out. So that is what needs to happen. There needs to be a real re-education across both ends, right? Both in the African American community and the African community. Again, that is why Osiri University is very relevant. We are teaching our people these histories so they can appreciate why we have certain things. Obviously, at a surface level, it will make sense not to have Black History Month, you know, in the sense that you don't want to just have a month dedicated to Black history. Black History Month should be taught every month. In other words, it should be part of our curriculum, right? It should be pervasive throughout. So in that sense, you know, we shouldn't have that. But that wasn't his reason. His rationale was that let's throw it out and just have American history. He hasn't really fully appreciated the fact that Black history was excluded from the curriculum, was excluded from our society. That is why we have to include it. And that is an issue that we also have in our curriculum. So part of my research is dealing with decolonizing the curriculum. And when we say we want to decolonize the curriculum, we're not saying let's erase everything. We want to include more stories. Brother, let me share something with you very quick. We are in this age of COVID-19 pandemic, and we are earnestly waiting for a vaccine to show up, a reliable vaccine. Brother Phil, if I tell you that the concept of vaccination, of inoculation, was developed in West Africa, would you believe me? Did you know that? Do our viewers know that? That vaccination, the concept of inoculation, was developed in West Africa. So here's a book called Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent, written by a sister, Isabel Wilkerson. Okay, now this book is been said to be, let's see, Wilkerson's work is the missing puzzle piece of our country's history. This is a comment by the American Prospect. One key information in this book is about an African enslaved person, an enslaved African in Boston, who narrated to his master, who was a minister in Boston, during the smallpox pandemic, about a procedure he had undergone before he was grabbed and taken down here as a slave. And he shared this story in the 1920s. The procedure essentially was, in West Africa, where he came from, these people would take a fluid specimen from someone who was sick and inject it in on people who are healthy, so that they are inoculated from the disease. That story, 30 years later, was taken up by the Johnson & Johnson brothers to create what we now enjoy today as vaccination. So when we talk about decolonizing our minds, our curriculum, we're basically saying, let's remember who we are. Let's stop begging. Let's stop being subservient. We were creators. We were innovators. We enjoy the internet today. Do you know the father of the internet is Emegwale, an Igbo man from West Africa? Help us enjoy the internet we all enjoy today. But is that taught in schools? No, it's not. So that is what, for me, I am not interested in anybody's story. I don't want to remove anybody's story from the curriculum. I just want to make sure that our stories are represented in the curriculum. So that's what needs to happen, a decolonizing of the mind.
Well, I'm a little different on that. I believe that, the way the education system has been, like you said, has been worked out is definitely to their favor. I believe that, it just needs to be flipped. Like you mentioned the history, right? We need to have like you said, everyday history of Black people, not just a month, like you said, but it just need to be part of the curriculum. It's American history, actually. It's not just quote unquote Black history. Like, okay, we're going to take this 1 month. And I understand the history of it. It started off with Black History Week, and then it expanded into Black History Month. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that if I started a school, you're going to know exactly everyone in our history. You're going to know about the white, the British, how they came in, what they done, what they didn't do. I'll teach it. I would teach it all, because it's just part of the history, right? But we're going to focus more on our history because, like you said, it's critical. It's missing on the African continent. They don't know their history. And just like a lot of people here, now they're learning more and more of the history because of the advent of the internet. And that's good. And maybe like schools like yours, people learning the history. But yeah, you're right. History is definitely something that we need to learn. But at the same time, and I want to touch on this one more time about what is it was causing some, not all. I say some of the divide at times with people in the diaspora and people that immigrate, at least here from America to what you have seen, since you have been part of that crowd. Because on the continent is all love. So where's the disconnect at?
I think one of the major things too is the narrative in which we buy into. So if the narrative that is being pushed on TV, being pushed in popular press, or being pushed even by our families, if we buy into those stories and we push those stories to our children, let's say as an African family, if I begin to tell my children, oh, these stories about African Americans are true, you better be careful about them, then my children will grow up wanted to keep away from African Americans. So it's all about the narratives that we are buying into and espousing. The same thing goes also on the other end. Some African Americans have also bought into this narrative that African people are just poor, wallowing in squalor, in poverty, with flies on their faces, right? So I've also heard about, African Americans calling Africans booty scratchers in high schools or in middle schools. So again, it's all about the stories and the narratives that we are buying from our families, from our friends. So we need to break down all these stories and pay attention to our correct stories. And our correct stories is this: we as a people are loving people. We are the Ubuntu people. We believe that I only thrive if you thrive. So that is the story we need to start espousing.
Well, let me address some things that you said. You said that they saw some Africans as poor, etc. Well, I remember growing up, Sally Struthers. I don't know if you remember her. Well, they used to have Feed the Children commercials always come on TV. And I saw this growing up about Ethiopia, and they would show Ethiopian children with their ribs, and they would be crying. And then these Ethiopian children have flies all around them. And then Sally Struthers would be saying, oh, just help feed these children for just $1 a day. And you could feed these poor children. Look at them. And they show the environment. You're like, oh, hell no. I don't want to be in no Africa. Man, I'm not living like that. Now, mind you, they're not showing you where all the white folks are at, enjoying themselves in Africa, right? Or different, whatever in the continent. But that's what we were shown. Propaganda from white folks, right? Number two, the African booty scratcher thing. Do you know I was called African booty scratcher too? Growing up? Do you know why?
Why? Tell me, please.
Because there was just things that they would call each other. And I'm gonna tell you where the African booty scratcher come from. National Geographic used to go out and film in the rural areas of the African continent, right? And they would be showing, like, let's say, hey, you walking around in a rural area, they more traditional, they have these little, I don't know, they almost like a thong or whatever they would wear. I can't describe it. You may know exactly what it is. And, mosquitoes and whatever else would bite them in that area. So, of course, you would scratch, your behind, right? So that's where we saw that image from, National Geographic. It's not nothing than like BET that we came up with. Black Americans have nothing to do with even those images that they have shown the continent. You have to understand, the white supremacist system have always shown the African continent as poor, flies, hungry, the rural areas of the African continent. Oh, we come to save you. And then in our culture, what a lot of African immigrants don't understand, we roast each other a lot. We grew up doing it. Like I said, I was called African booty scratcher. I was called black as night. I was called, oh, well, if you just close your eyes in the dark, nobody gonna see you. Like, that's just what happens here as being kids, but as an adult, right? And I try to tell people that come over here, don't take the African booty scratcher thing to heart like that. Like I said, I was called that. Seriously, multiple times I was called an African booty scratcher because I was dark skinned. I'm good. I'm cool with it. I'll just roast you back. I call you ugly. I say your mama stank. I'll talk about how broke you are. I mean, that's just kind of way we grew up. Like, we always kind of like just roast each other. And you couldn't roast, it would hurt your feelings, I guess. So I would say don't take that to heart. That's just kid stuff. But, because I hear people, older people, they call me African booty scratcher. And I just came over here like, come on, brother or sister. That's what kids do.
Brother Phil, so I'm glad you say that. When you look at universities across America,
mm-hmm.
Do you know what happens when they win a football match, a football game? Donations and philanthropy goes
mm-hmm.
up.
Mm-hmm.
So people want to associate themselves with winners.
Right.
And so when the narrative about Africa and African people have always been about losing, poverty, then it makes sense why their brothers and sisters in America do not want to associate themselves with Africans. When in fact, Africans, again, like I said earlier, are innovators, pioneers. We need to start learning this history. Now, let me also say this. Our university is not just about learning and teaching African history. So this is one pillar, is a way for us to reconnect back to who we were, who we are, is important. But we're also teaching skills, computer science skills, programming skills, business skills, right? Health. So we're offering all those courses as well. So we want to make sure that people are learning both their history, so they can know who they are, but also learning their skills, learning skill sets, so they can, when they combine both, then we have people that can go and create change. Brother, the problem that we have, which you have articulated earlier, is not a lack of intelligent people. Africans are very smart. You said Nigerians, when they come here, they dominate the universities. I mean, the Nigerians are the most educated immigrants in the US, bar none. We know that. But why is it that Nigeria, given the fact that they are the most educated in America, but their country is still in shambles, our country is still in ruins? Why? Because there's been a disconnect. We learn these skills. We have medical doctors, we have engineers, we have all these people doing great things, but they don't know who they are. It's time we start learning skills and learning history, combining skills and a sense of self, so we can develop what I call a mindset that would allow us go back and improve our conditions at home. And that needs to happen not just on the continent. African Americans need to be doing the same thing right here as well. Even in the slums, even in the ghettos, that needs to be happening.
Well, I definitely agree with you. If you have the brain drain, that's what they talk about, out of the African continent, then that's going to continue to happen. Because, let's say we're talking about Nigerians in particular. If they leave Nigeria and come here, and it's a big Nigerian community right here in Houston. If the Nigerian community here in Houston, they settle their businesses, do everything great here. Let's say they send money back to Nigeria, great. But if they're not trying to replicate what they're doing here over there, then, like I said, the community actually lose out. And that's been the problem. But see, somebody like me can go to Nigeria and see like the opportunity. And even, like when I went to Kenya and Ethiopia, I said, oh my God, look at the opportunity here. And now, since, I've been going, like our business is registered in Kenya now. We have, 2 people that work for us in Kenya in particular. I mean, so it's so much opportunity there that I'm like, why would people leave this? But I guess, coming from America, seeing, the way we've been educated and looking at it as a business, I guess this is why I say the diaspora is very important to helping, like I say, assisting the brothers and sisters to make, the continent exactly what it is. So the Chinese is coming there for their benefit. Well, the white man been there for his benefit. The Indians are there. The Arabs are there. Why everybody want to be on the continent with the people that belong there?
Africa is the last business frontier. And Africa is the only place now on earth where you find record market economic growth. You are absolutely right. If you want to see returns, significant returns on your investment, the place to go is Africa. That is why I don't know why the African leaders would not take a break and say, look, let's begin to do something in Africa to create a space for this development to really happen in a more rapid fashion. There are opportunities in the area of infrastructure to build out power plants, to build roads, opportunities in the healthcare sector to set up clinics, to set up mobile medical units, to set up research centers, diagnostic centers, massive opportunities, even in the area of the internet, to lay fiber optics. I mean, even water cleaning and sanitization. The opportunities are endless. You just need to connect with the right folks. In fact, one of the things that we're also doing at Osiri University, we're teaching entrepreneurship as a course, also teaching a course on doing business in Africa. And we also have a platform that we call Lions Roar, a platform where you can come and pitch your idea. And hopefully, if you have an idea where you want to go do something in Africa, we have a group of folks that can help you be able to make that investment in Africa. Because Africa, again, is the last frontier. That is the place where you can get record economic growth. So African Americans should be jumping on it. Even Africans themselves should be jumping on that opportunity to go invest in Africa.
But one thing that's constantly being said, and this is a legitimate question and legitimate argument. You have some Black Americans say this: well, we're told to go invest and start businesses. Awesome. But when it comes to getting citizenship, as people that's been, some of us, maybe not all, but a lot of us have been taken away from the African continent. Why is the citizenship, or even a pathway to citizenship, like maybe not a 15-year citizenship, but I mean, like I said before, they need to create a pathway to citizenship for the diaspora, like maybe, let you have a residency, coming in at least. I mean, and, make sure you check you out. Of course, you're not no criminal, nothing like that, but a residency. And then within, maybe 3 to 5 years, a citizenship, what I'm saying, like a fast track. Why isn't citizenship isn't being offered? Because it's kind of like if I tell my child to come home, right? But I tell my child to come home, but she could come, but I don't say she's really home because I'm not giving her a key where she can come in and out of my home, right? She can come visit, and I tell her to come home to visit, but she can't really come home to stay. You understand? So, so some Black Americans are saying, well, in order for Pan-Africanism to work, we need to be able to have a way to actually come home. And now, since I'm invested in the home, I have a citizenship like I got in America, then yes, I'm going to really invest into my home. So what's kind of stopping that from happening?
First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Ghana for at least making an attempt towards providing a pathway to citizenship. They are the only country, in my humble opinion, that's been doing something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Now, what is the issue? I want to also ask my African-American brothers and sisters to be patient and to apologize to them and to tell them, look, the challenges that you're facing is not unique. In other words, even as we talk, it's even difficult for Africans to travel, even within Africa. Do you know how difficult it is for someone from Nigeria to just go over to the next country, Benin, then to Togo, then to Ghana, right? Or to Cameroon? Now that's just West Africa. Talk less trying to go to Kenya or South Africa. There are a lot of barriers put in place, even for Africans to travel within Africa. Now, all these things, of course, have roots, have colonial roots, which we have to keep dismantling. Any efforts to allow us to connect with each other are being thwarted, are being frustrated. So again, I apologize to African-American brothers and sisters for facing this hardship. We are going to be we need to start working on that. Okay, the reason why it is the way it is just that simple. It hasn't been a priority. And Africa hasn't been designed to cater to Africans or to cater to Africans in the diaspora. It's been designed to continue to support the colonial countries. That's the fact. That's the truth. So that is what's happening. Now, what I will suggest is, in the meantime, let's start building real communities. What we have, for example, here in Nebraska is an African community with a K, where we have African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, Africans from the continent. We come together, we break bread, we discuss our culture, and we discuss how we can support each other. So while we wait for the pathways to citizenship, and while we lobby for that, we need to also start lobbying for that. Let's start creating and having real communities. That, for me, that's actually more important. And as we have those real communities, we'll develop a critical mass to begin to lobby with these African governments to speed up the pathway to citizenship for our African-American brothers and sisters.
All right, so you mentioned your school is in Lincoln, Nebraska.
That's where I live currently. So right now it's online, and is by design. So we've designed the university online. That's the first phase, to make it flexible. It's also affordable. You can learn at your own pace. Our instructors are African Americans, Africans from the continent, and even Afro-Caribbeans with qualifications who are teaching on the online space. Our second phase is we are developing creating centers, mini centers, where people can meet and learn at their various cities. But for now, what we have is an online education that is high quality and flexible and affordable.
Okay, and what degrees are you offering?
Right now, we are offering certificates.
Okay.
So we are offering certificates, for example, in entrepreneurship. You take about 4 or 5 courses, you earn a certificate. We have a certificate in programming, in entrepreneurship, in script writing, in research methods. So we are offering certificates. Now, we are also on the pathway towards offering traditional degrees. What we have is, instead of traditional degrees right now, we have what we call mastery levels, or levels of mastery. So you put in about 3 years, you get a level of mastery 1. Now you add some more years, you get a level of mastery 2. Now we are on the pathway to offering traditional bachelors and masters because people are used to that. And to make that happen, we've begun talks with the Ministry of Education in Sierra Leone, because we want to get our accreditation from Africa in Sierra Leone. And we are also looking at Tanzania to get those accreditations to be able to offer degrees. For right now, people can take certificates, and we will be able to apply those certificates to degrees in the future.
Okay, so in the process right now, if you want to say go to the African continent with what you learned there, I mean, would you say it'll be accepted more in Sierra Leone and Tanzania, or just kind of like, or are you just doing it just for the education aspect? Because people in this country go ask, okay, well, I go over there, and then, you know, how can I use it to possibly, you know, do something with? That's just why I'm trying to eliminate that question.
Yes, absolutely. So actually, we're actually challenging the current educational system. Mm-hmm. What you will learn from us, you can use anywhere. So I mean, if you learn how to code, programming, what I say is, and someone who wants to, an employer want to know, okay, here's something I'd like for you to code. Do it. Let's see. So we are very practical in our approach. So what you're learning from us, you can be able to demonstrate to an employer who will say, okay, well, if you can do that, I need your services. I need your skill sets. So that is the mentality we want people to start using. Now, obviously, we have folks who want to gain employment. We also have folks who want to create their own businesses.
Okay. All right. So tell people, brother, like, say, how could they contact you, and, you know, and also check your school out?
Go to osiriuniversity.org and click on Unleash Yourself and apply. That is one way to contact us. Or if you want to start checking out some of the courses, go to Osiri University /enroll, ENROLL. And then you can check out some of those courses and enroll. By the way, for a limited time only, we are offering courses at no cost to people because we want folks to come and learn. Obviously, if you pay only $100, then we can open up the final module so you can take the exam and do the assessment. But that should not be an issue. We are more interested in people just coming to learn, people changing their mindset. So once again, osiriuniversity.org /enroll, ENROLL. To contact me, you could send an email to KAABO, KAABO at osiriuniversity.org, and give us all your inquiries.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know, so the brother put out the information just in case you're interested and want to contact the brother. You know, he definitely had a good conversation, and this is what we're about in this platform, having conversations, you know, mending bridges together, you know, with each other, because that's what we got to do, you know, because like you heard what he said earlier, and it's true, actually very, very true. It's more expensive to travel within the continent, definitely, than what it is to travel within the United States. It's like you would think it'd be a no-brainer, but no, he's actually 100% right when he mentioned that. So, brother, Thanks for joining us on the show today. We hopefully your school grow and you stay blessed.
Thank you. Appreciate you.